It's Wednesday, Parshas Emor Yid Bais Ir Tufshim Paivuv, April 29th, 2026. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host with breaking news of the last 24 hours on Edge.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Ha yoim shuvu ve'esrim yoim shaim shloisha shuviyos ve'shishu yomim lu'oimer yesod shebenetzach. There was a terrible tragedy this morning that shook up the entire Jewish community in London. Golders Green woke up this morning to a maniac terrorist, 45-year-old maniac, who ran around town with a knife with one intent, to kill. Thank you, Hashem, he didn't achieve what he wanted to do, because he was apprehended by our heroes, the Golders Green Shomrim members, together with law enforcement, the police. We will get to the story soon. We have also a special report coming from one of the members, the Shomrim members. His name is Gavriel Ost, who, thanks to Ari Pfefferkorn from Pushupshat, and as well the one running the London Jewish Expo right now, he's very busy. He managed to get hold of Gavriel, who's very, very busy right now with the police. He's on the scene. He'll come on soon, so we'll hear a report from him. And we'll give you more details about the story. But first, Iran is drowning in too much oil. Hidden COVID-19 research documents are now being investigated, tied to Dr. Fauci. And if you want a limited edition US passport with Trump's face on it and his golden signature, stay tuned. Okay, let's get to the news. But before we do so, let's not forget, Protobyte. Now, if you want to design software, okay, you're busy in your business, you have no time to handle it on your own, even though you have AI and you tried it. You tried Claude, you tried ChatGPT, the new code that just came out. It can make a program. I know, it can make amazing programs for you, but guess what? You're going to waste so much time and money, and it won't do actually what you want it to do. You have to call Protobyte. Protobyte is an expert, and it's worth an investment. Why would you waste your time and expertise on what you're good at to do, right? And let a person who's actually good at it do what needs to be done. Protobyte, 347-354-1237. Okay, speaking of Protobyte, because they're based in London, 2 Jewish men were injured in this terrorist knife attack near the Hager Shul in Golders Green, London. He was seen running around Golders Green with his knife, trying to attack anyone who looks and seems to be Jewish. In a video, a man, this terrorist, ran along the streets to stab 2 Jewish people. One of the victims was a 70-year-old, in his late 70s, or early 70s, excuse me. He was seen putting on his couple on his head. And when he put his couple on his head next to the bus stop, this attacker stabbed him. The other man was walking out of shul in his car when the attacker drove his knife into his chest, and thankfully the knife missed his vital organs, thank you Hashem. And he is in hospital and being treated right now. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but I did hear and I did reach out to one of the victim's family members who kindly gave me some information, even though they're going through a very hard time. It's really hard. What they did tell me is that their family member, the 30-year-old man, is actually a US citizen, and they said that they believe that the US now will have to get involved because the UK government obviously does so very poorly, as you can imagine. The police commission, the Scotland Yard's official spokesperson who gave the report didn't mention not once the word Jewish people. All he said is a man attacked 2 men in the 30s and 70s. Didn't give any information about Jews, and this is the question actually in London and Golders Green, especially after the recent attacks that happened. They're not doing enough to combat anti-Semitism. Condemnation from Keir Starmer and the Mayor Sadiq Khan, not enough. That's all they can do. No, thank you. And now Keir Starmer needs it because he's afraid he's being ousted. He's actually right now in session, or he was in session a few minutes or hours ago, and this is when he said his statement about this attack. They're trying very hard. The 45-year-old terrorist maniac was immediately arrested and apprehended by Shomrim together with police. And like I said, we will hear soon from Gavriel Ost, one of the Shomrim members, who I'm waiting for him to come on. And the reason for the attack is obviously still being investigated. Well, they did determine it was a terrorist attack. They gave it over to the terrorist police investigators. Both of the victims are now doing fine and recovering in hospital, so I heard. I don't know if both of them, one of them at least I know. I don't know exactly what's going on. Actually, the way the police apprehended it, I was told, there's actually a video circulating online about this, that the police, first of all, this attacker approached the police, trying to attack them as well. They tased him and threw him to the ground and kicked his head several times. And with the help of Shomrim and other people around, Shomrim members, they actually released his knife from his hand. I think one of them who released the knife from his hand actually was a Shomrim member. or one of the bystanders, I'm not sure, who tried to help. The names for Tehillim are Shlomo ben Bela and Nachman Moshe ben Chayesur. So please say so Tehillim. Today's terrorist attack brings me back to several past incidents in the same area. One that stands out until today is the 21-year-old pro-Hamas convoy that drove through Jewish neighborhoods in London using terrible language. They urged people to use violence and support Palestine. It was awful. Awful what's going on there. And like I said, Gavriel Ost, I think he's coming on right now. Let me try and get him on. Let's see. Gavriel?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now, yes. Okay.
I'm doing my best here. Sorry. Every time
Okay, first of all, what's your name? For the record, what's your name?
My name is Gavriel Ost, and I'm one of the coordinators for Shomrim in Northwest London.
Okay.
We're here just above Golders Green Road. Just behind me is the cordon, the police cordon, for this terrible attack that happened this morning, where 2 Jewish people were stabbed. We received some phone calls from members of the public to our control room, alerting us to the fact of somebody with a knife who was trying to stab Jewish people along Golders Green Road, which is the main high street in Golders Green in Northwest London.
Okay.
Our dispatch our volunteers, they extremely brave, apprehended this suspect together with police.
Together with the police.
The suspect was detained. Initially one of our suspects tried to block him, ran towards the danger, and detained this suspect. And subsequently, the suspect was arrested, and the police have declared this a terrorist incident. 2 leading, unfortunately, have been dealt with by Hakol
Okay.
For injuries, for stab injuries. And
how are they doing now?
This entire scene remains a crime scene. I cannot speak to the welfare of the 2 victims, as that's something you would have to ask Hakol to comment on.
Right.
But I would like to speak to the 2 Shomrim volunteers that ran towards the danger. To protect 3 people and to protect life. This gentleman, this suspect, was out to try and cause harm and to cause death to visibly Jewish people.
My question is,
and
I have a question for you. How is the English authority treating it? Are they? Because I heard one of the police commissioners didn't mention a word of Jewish or Jews through his speech. The Scotland Yard, I think it is. What do they have to say to that?
Well, police in the last not so long ago have declared this a terrorist incident. Which means it's officially been declared as such. Other incidents that have happened recently, which are anti-Semitic in nature, have not necessarily been declared as terrorist. This one has really been declared as a terrorist incident. It was clear the motive: this person wanted to harm and kill Jewish people, and it was clear that they wanted to do so to visibly Jewish people.
Right.
Shomrim is an organization that is here for the community and protects the community, and our members are made up of the local community, and will run towards danger to protect.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Thank you, Gavriel. Thank you so much for your courage, and thank you so much for what you do there. It's unbelievable what you do, because
I can't take any credit. I can't take any credit. The credit goes out to the volunteers that were on scene. I personally wasn't on scene. I only came after the suspect was arrested. Our credit goes out to those that actually put themselves on the line and ran towards the danger and apprehended the suspect. And they are the heroes here.
Listen, you're part of that group, so the credit goes to everyone there, but especially to those members. If I can have a word with them, it would be great. I'm sure everyone's very busy now giving reports to the police. And may you all stay safe and be safe from our listeners here on Edge. And Hatzlucha Rabba, Gavriel. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. All the best. All right, my friends. So you've heard the story. You've heard Gavriel. Thank you so much for Gavriel for coming on. The US-Iran war is now more than 60 days old. Well, you can call it a war. There's an actual ceasefire going on, but yeah. And the pressure on Iran is building very fast. Right now, more than 20 ships are waiting outside Iran's Chabahar port. On a normal day, you'd see about 5. The line is getting longer because the ships cannot cross the Strait of Hormuz. Some of those ships are carrying oil worth around $200 million. Treasury Secretary Bessent said Kharg Island, or Karg Island if you pronounce it that way, is nearly out of storage space. This place is Iran's main oil export terminal, might I remind you. Once it fills up completely, and like my Chava Moshe from Jackson said here on Edge Sunday, and many times I've repeated it here on Edge as well, Iran would have to stop oil production. If this happens, Iran will lose $170 million every single day and suffer long-term damage to its oil infrastructure. Meanwhile, Iran's currency, the rial, has lost about 10% of its value in just 3 days. Well, it's already low as we speak. The U.S. Congress wants answers about the U.S.-Iran war, and there's no better person to explain this than Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who is right now in session and is heated. So Hegseth is visiting Washington right now and is in Washington right now, standing before Congress or sitting before Congress to testify or to say. One of the questions would be about the military's budget for 2027. If approved, the proposal would raise the budget to a record-breaking $1.5 trillion with a T dollars. Hegseth and the top military general Dan Kane are expected to explain why they need to buy more drones, missile defense systems, and obviously warships. All right, so the US just shut down Iran's money machine. The US government has punished 35 people and businesses connected to Iran's hidden money system. This is a secret network that Iran uses to move money around without going through normal banks. The US also sent a warning to banks around the world. Basically, they said, don't do business with Chinese oil companies that are paying Iran. They are referring to the payments for buying Iranian oil or using the Strait of Hormuz for that. That warning comes after last week when the US went after one Chinese oil company and accused it of buying billions of dollars worth of Iranian oil. Yesterday, King Charles III told American lawmakers, he was at Congress by the way, that the US-UK friendship will last forever and that the two countries need each other more than ever now. When he said, it's important to make sure no single person or country gains too much power, the entire room clapped and standing ovation. Trump was probably thinking, besides America, obviously, because we're the most powerful. King Charles III, is the first British king to address the US Congress in 35 years. Former FBI director James Comey is facing federal charges and an arrest warrant. Why? Well, it's because of a social media post. Now, those of you remember, I did report it here on Edge. North Carolina charged him with 2 crimes, threatening the president and sending a threat using the internet. For those of you who have been watching, listening to my On Edge report long enough, remember this story. Comey's post, was in May 2025. A picture, almost a year ago, a picture that showed seashells arranged on a beach to spell 8647. Harmless, right? But 86 actually, means, it's an American slang that means get rid of. Like, as in kill. It's a slang used by gang members. Like, 86'em. And 47 refers to Trump, who is now the 47th president fighting with a 47-year-old regime. On day 47 of the war, I'm joking now, we're day 60 on the war, almost, yeah. If this Comey guy is found guilty, Comey can face up to 20 years in prison. Don't forget, he's the former FBI director. Peace talks between Iran and America have broken down, and drivers are paying for it at the pump. Gas prices across the United States just hit their highest level in 4 years. As of Tuesday, the average price for a gallon now is $4.18. In Ohio, the average is even higher at $4.29 a gallon. And in some parts of the Cincinnati area, prices have already gone past $4. The Federal Reserve is announcing today whether it will change interest rates or not in America. This announcement is also getting extra attention because it may be the last one Jerome Powell runs as the head of the agency. Kevin Warsh, congratulations, who has Trump's support and was nominated, has just received his official nomination from the Senate Banking Committee for the same role. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 both went down this morning. These are 2 major stock indexes in the US. Investors are now keeping a close eye on the Federal Reserve, obviously Powell's future, and also the latest earnings reports from big tech companies, which is also stirring up a little bit of the news today. We'll get to it soon, obviously. All right, now, the US-Iran ceasefire isn't the only thing that is going back and forth today. As you can imagine, international oil prices also went up and down yesterday. They went down for a short time after the United Arab Emirates said it would leave OPEC. Now, I had a report yesterday from my Chaver Moshe from Jackson, who came on specially to give me a reason why OPEC is a good thing or isn't a good thing, but to become independent, basically. The UAE wants to become independent. Then prices went up again because of problems near the Strait of Hormuz. At the end of the day, oil was over $112 a barrel. This is almost 3% higher and the highest since March. Leaders from Gulf countries, Arab countries basically, met in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, for a Gulf Cooperation Council meeting. They talked about the crisis and they said no to Iran's idea of, to charge ships tolls, $2 million tolls to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This decision mostly agrees with the United States. At the same time, shipping companies are using a new route through the Panama Canal and basically to avoid the issues, and more ships are going there to avoid basically the problem area. It is a little bit of a headache because, like I said, if you look at the map, Karg Island, it's actually a very difficult route to take because Strait of Hormuz is just straight to the point and Panama Canal is a little bit out of the way for most of them. Qatar tried to help Karim Khan from the International Criminal Court. He wanted he basically warranted arrest orders for the Israeli leaders like Bezalel Smotrich and also Ben Gvir, whoever it was, and the Israel Katz, defense minister, and obviously Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The report says Qatar may have told him that they may look after him, quote, if he pushes forward with the Israeli arrests. Though his claim is not proven, it is supported by a document and audio recordings. Qatar says it is not true, and Khan also denies wrongdoing in this. He is also accused of other scandals, obviously. Wild terrorists wounded 2 Israeli soldiers overnight in the Silwad area of the West Bank. The soldiers were there for military activity during the night. Both were taken to hospital and their families were notified. Israeli media said the 2 attackers stabbed the soldiers, but the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, has not officially confirmed the exact method of the attack. One soldier opened fire and the terrorist was killed. The second terrorist was also killed and taken into custody, or neutralized, disabled, not killed, taken into custody. A large-scale search for terrorists began yesterday. As of today, the IDF and border police have searched 100 buildings and investigated 40 people for this. Now, Israel needs to be more patient. That's because analysts said that its war of redemption will keep going throughout 2026. This is what they call it. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Ayal Zamir also warned that Israel is still fighting in several places at once. Well, they have a big war on all fronts. But they have a secret weapon. The Mossad. Mossad director David Barnea, who's to step down in June, by the way, and to be replaced by someone else, forgot his name, Goffman, said that the Mossad can work deep inside enemy territory. They can get hold of Iranian secrets and now have a powerful new system for hitting enemies. Didn't say more details. Israeli military intelligence known as Amman gave a briefing to the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. Amman warned that Lebanon's president is putting his life in danger by taking part in talks with Israel. They also warned that Iran and Hezbollah are both building up their supply of missiles again throughout the ceasefires. It's an interesting ceasefire, by the way. People are hearing bombs and drones and other sort of means of battle sounds on the field there. True enough, Hezbollah drones are now still killing and wounding Israeli soldiers in southern Lebanon. A defense ministry worker named Amir Hujirat was killed when a drone slammed into him while he was driving an excavator. He was actually helping Israeli forces tear down Hezbollah buildings at the time. That's his job. He's an Arab. His son was hurt at the same attack. Another IDF soldier was also badly wounded by one of these explosive drones. The big problem is these drones are cheap and easy to make in big numbers. The usual electronics, like basically what Ukraine is fighting, right? The usual electronic tools the military uses to block drones are not working well against them, and they're expensive. These drones are also guided by a thin wire instead of radio signals. Because they don't use radio, the military cannot block them in the same way, which makes them much harder to stop. I guess they need to contact Ukraine. The Prime Minister has said that Israel is working on a special program to deal with this problem. The IDF has blown up the biggest Hezbollah tunnel network ever found in southern Lebanon. The tunnels were built under the village of Al-Qantara and was taken down in a planned explosion at 6 o'clock in the evening, using between 450 and 500 tons of explosives last night. The main tunnel was 2 kilometers long and dug 25 meters into the ground through solid rock. The whole network has 30 shafts going down into the actual tunnel. 30 rooms where fighters could sleep and live, and dozens of other rooms with other things and food and kitchens and bathrooms. It was large enough to hold hundreds of fighters who were supposed to use it to attack Israel. The IDF says Iran paid for it to be built, obviously. They found evidence and that they found it through solid intelligence work. During the operation, Israeli strikes in the area killed 5 people, including 3 rescue workers. Lebanon's president, Joseph Aoun, said that Israel was breaking international law. And Lebanon's prime minister called the strikes war crimes. Israel has sent a final warning to the Lebanese government, including international mediators who are trying to help with the peace talks, including France and England. Israel says a deal needs to be in place before the current ceasefire ends in mid-May. Israeli officials say the next few weeks are the last chance to get an agreement done. If nothing is worked out in time, officials are warning that the ceasefire could fall apart, which is probably falling apart as we speak. I mean, it is falling apart as we know. The problem is, it is impossible to discuss peace with Lebanon without naming Hezbollah. Well, they're running the town now. That's what Israeli Ambassador Danny Danon said at the United Nations Security Council yesterday. He said Lebanon cannot claim independence while Hezbollah obviously continues to fire on Israeli civilians in the north. People who ignored the military invitations, well, in other words, invitation to come to serve, are being arrested across Israel, Haredim. The most recent arrests were made on 2 Talmidim, and this caused more protests in Israel. One Talmid from Yeshivas B'nai Shuvim in Yerushalayim's Gilo neighborhood, I said yesterday, was arrested at his home in the middle of the night. Another Talmid learning at Yeshivas Chazan Mordechai Netzaliah was also arrested by military police, who was disguised as a delivery driver. In response, hundreds of young men from Peleg Yerushalmi blocked Highway 4 at the Geha junction, which is near Bnei Brak. In a separate gathering, multiple members of the Peleg Yerushalmi broke into a high-ranking official's home. IDF military police chief General Yuval Yamin and his family were inside their Ashkelon home when the protesters forced their way in. 25 protesters were later arrested. However, the Jerusalem faction announced, leave the Torah students, leave the Talmidim alone. Leave them alone and they won't attack you. Shtais, they're bringing it onto themselves. Why are they messing around with Torah? Don't mess around with Torah! Another anti-Semitic attack. Someone destroyed a billboard promoting United Atzula founder Eli Beer's upcoming Melbourne appearance in Australia on May 31st. It was torn down and partly burned. Still, Eli Beer responded that the threats will not stop him from going to this event. May Hashem be with him. My friends, I made a robocall throughout Pesach that went around. I mean, I was hired to do it, so actually I feel like personal to this. Shlomo Danziger won the Surfside mayor's race by 22 votes. Danziger is an Orthodox Jewish former mayor, and he's returning to office, Baruch Hashem, in Surfside, and it's a big victory for my friends and Jewish brothers and sisters in Florida. He beat the vice mayor, Tina Paul, in a runoff election. I'm so happy for him, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Anyway, Danziger now replaces outgoing mayor Charles Burkett. The Flatbush Shomrim members helped the NYPD arrest suspects wanted in a citywide fraud case. Police say the suspects were wanted in Queens and also tied to other fraud cases across the city. NYPD 108th Precinct Commanding Officer Deputy Inspector Hamid Armani honored Flatbush Shomrim members for their role in the arrests. Now let's see what Tyler Oliveira has to say to that, obviously. A top health officer is being investigated for hiding COVID-19 records from the government. David Morenz, a top aide in Anthony Fauci at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, has been charged with hiding COVID-19 records. Federal lawyers say he deleted government emails and told co-workers to reach him through his private personal email account instead. All of those records couldn't be found, obviously. In one email from June 28, 2021, he wrote, "The best way to avoid FOIA hassle is to delete all emails when you learn a subject is getting sensitive." The records he hid were connected to COVID-19 to research into where the virus came from. This is something the government still hasn't reached a clear answer on. If convicted, Morens could end up in prison. I'm wondering what that means. Elon Musk is suing OpenAI. ChatGPT boss Sam Altman, co-founder Greg Brockman, and Microsoft. Musk says they broke their promise about what OpenAI was supposed to be, which was a company built to help people, not to make money. Musk helped start OpenAI back in 2015. He was one of the founders, and gave $38 million to the company before he walked away from its board in 2018. Now he wants a court to force OpenAI to go back to its original mission. To do this, he wants to remove Altman and the Brockman and Mr. Brockman from their jobs. He also wants them to pay back damages costing hundreds of billions of dollars, which Musk will donate to OpenAI's charitable side. OpenAI says Musk is just jealous and wishes he had stayed because they're so successful. Now, ChatGPT is not so great, obviously. Most users are reporting that they're terrible, hallucinating terribly, and they're reporting false information. As you know, yesterday we did report about several murderous attacks that happened because ChatGPT is just giving information, helping with assisting with murder, and also suicide. They say every dollar he donated was used exactly the way it was supposed to be. That's what they claim. Microsoft's lawyer added that Musk only had a problem with all of it after ChatGPT became a huge hit, and Grok is, the whole trial is expected to take about 4 weeks. This summer, the United States is putting out a special passport with a big photo of Donald J. Trump on the inside cover. Well, he is doing a lot of work to get his legacy now, might I say. Donald J. Trump is leaving a big mark in the United States, first with the Palm Beach International Airport to be changed to Donald J. Trump, and Penn Station now he's working on to get his name on. And now with the passport, and obviously, those who remember, I did report about the US $100 bill that's going to get his picture on it, his signature, instead of the Treasury signature. Now, the State Department announced that these new passports will mark America's 250th birthday. The passports are called America 250. Inside, Trump's photo will be printed alongside the words of the Declaration of Independence and the American flag. His signature will appear in gold. There will also be a separate page showing the well-known painting of the Founding Fathers signing the Declaration of Independence. Those who are interested may simply apply for the renewal of their U.S. passport. Newly issued passports will also have the America 250 design. Interesting, I just applied for renewal passports for my kids. Okay, we'll see if it has Trump's name. And that's our news roundup for today. But before we do that, let's not forget YS Capital Group and YS Capital Group, because YS Capital Group will help you get your loan for your investment. And the reason why YS Capital Group is such a great investment opportunity for you, because you don't have to go to the bank or the middleman. They are direct lenders, fast approval, 718-831-2168. Let's not forget our brothers, of course, in Arrive Express, who also have a mission to provide the best taxi service there is available. My friends, I think I'm going to leave you here. Oh, well, the number is 845-671... that's my number. 845-254-1111. That's Monroe Fleet Arrive Express. And 845-622-1111, which is the Rockland County. You can download the app. It's a great app, by the way. If you come to America, book a taxi with Arrive Express. You will not be disappointed. Reliable, fast, and great service. Okay. Have yourselves a wonderful day, my friends. We'll see each other, tomorrow.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.